Hello, welcome back. And on the next step, we are going to create an extension here, and an extension at the other end to provide more space for creating a walkway. So, a reason why I'm doing so because if you take a look from the center of this column to that end, is a little bit wider compared to this one here. You can see it's smaller. Now we want to create an extension here. So the extension we are going to create is using we are going to create a cantilever beam here, and the cantilever beam, we are going to use the sectional plate to create our own cantilever beam on the other end. Now, to do that, I'll come to steel, then come to sectional plate here is the tool we are going to use. I'll right click, and I'm just trying to show you something here. If I snap on that spot and press enter and feed DY 610 and go ahead and click enter, you can see the profile is not presenting itself as a sectional view. Though we should be working on a sectional view, but you can also work on isometric view if you play around with your XYZ axis. So I'm going to delete this and click on OK, and I want to manipulate and place my XYZ on the surface of this particular beam. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to view, I'm going to more options and pick on the surface, and I'm going to place my XYZ plane on the surface of that beam right there. Now I'm going to still once again to place a sectional plate, right click and snap on that spot and click enter, then feed in dy 610, which is our extension we need, and I'll click yes. So once I've done so, if I double click on this particular plate, you can see it's 200 in width and the thickness is 20 millimeter thick. Though 20 millimeter thick is too big, so I'll minimize that to 10, and the width of this plate, I'll take it to 145 right there and click apply and give it an OK. So you can see we've made some changes there. So I want to create an end plate here. I want just to create an end plate here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a point there and a point there and offset them at 145, then create a plate using contour plate. Now, I'll come to edit right here and pick on point right there. Let me click on that drop down arrow and snap on that spot, and I'll snap on the other end. But I'll not be able to reach the other end because this member is blocking that point. So I'll press Control D to change the view. Then I'll snap on that spot, I'll right click, and now I'll select on that point and select on this point, right click and come to spatial copy and pick on linear. So I want to offset these two points downward by 145 millimeter along the x-axis. So in this particular case, I'll use the x-axis, and the rest should remain on 0 unless and only manipulate the count and the axis you're working on. Now on this particular case, I want to offset that by 145, and I want it to go down by 145. There we are, and click OK. Now I want to create a contour plate using these 4 points. I'll come to steel, then come to plate and snap on that spot, and snap on that spot, and snap on that spot, and snap on this spot right here, and close it here. So if you take a look here, if I go back to my draw mode, you can see we've created a plate, but this one is also 12 millimeter, and we don't want that 12 millimeter. We need a 10 millimeter thick, but it's slightly not in line with the top plate. So I'll double click on it once again and come to position in depth and click front to take it front. So this has been created, and it's matching. The connection is accurate. Now we want to create some points to help us create a flange for this. A flange for this particular cantilever beam. Now I want to create a midpoint between these 2 points here. I'll come to edit here and pick a midpoint or dividing points. I'll snap on that spot. Let me just zoom out and snap on that spot and snap on this spot. Right click and click interrupt. Then I'll come to this edge of this plate here and click on that, and snap at the midpoint there, and then click on the same point, right click and come to spatial copy and pick on linear. And I want to bring it down by 60 millimeter. So on the x-axis, I'll feed in 60 millimeter and take it down like that. So if I close this and select on that section and right click and hold and move my mouse like that. I'll be able to rotate it accurately. So let me put it in a position that I'll be able to rotate it accurately. Then I'll come to steel, then pick on the plate. I'll start creating my contour plate from that spot, then go to that spot, then come to that spot, then come to that point right there, then come all the way to that point right there. So I've created a point, but the flange is 12 millimeter. I'll change that to 10 and click OK. So once I've done so, I'll make sure it's right in the middle, not any side of that particular member. Now here we are, and we have our plate in place. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a cut that when I connect this member, let me just select everything here, right click and come to special copy and pick it from this spot here. Pick it from that spot and place it right there. So you can see I have my plate already in place. So I want to cut off this member using cut by part. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to edit, then cut by part. I'll pick part to be cut is this, and the cutting part is that, and I'll retain my part, and we've trimmed off that section off. So the part remaining is we want to trim slightly, cut this way, and also trim the end plate like that. So what I'm going to do here is very simple. I'm going to hide this. I'm going to select on that and hide it. Let me just turn it where we are. We are here. Now I'm going to select on that, right click and select hide so that we don't get obstruction. So I'm going to point once again and place another point right there. So these 2 points, I'm going to offset them downward. Right click and come to special copy here and pick linear. So under linear here, I want to change everything to 0 on the remaining axis. Change that to 0, and I want to offset this downward by 60. I can take it down by 60, or I think 60 is okay. I'll take it down by 60 right there along the x-axis. So if I try to use 60 there, or 20 will be okay. 20 will be okay. If I use 20 downward, I'll click OK, and we have 20 in place. So what I'm going to do next is just to use the contour to cut or to trim off that section. So I'm going to use cut, polygon, select on that, select on this, then I'll snap on that spot and snap on this spot, snap on that spot, snap there, and cut it off from that spot. So we've trimmed that section off. So we need the same thing to be done on this side. So I'm going to take the measurement from here to here and use the same measurement on the other end. I'll come to points here and put a point right here. Or take the measurement, let's confirm this measurement from here to here. This is 20. So I'm going to put a point here and offset down by 20 millimeter. Well, place it right there. Let me place it right there and select on it. Then give it an offset downward by 20 millimeter. Click that. So we have our 20 millimeter down there. So I'll come here under polygon and select on that. Select on this. Then I'll pick it from that spot, trim it from that to that end, to this end, to that end, and that end. There we are. We've trimmed off everything. Now I'm going to select everything. I'm going to select everything. Here, right click and come to move, and I'll pick it from that location and take it right here. Since the other part we have hidden, we'll bring it back. So once we brought it back, we'll be able to work with it accurately. So this is how it will look. And the next part remaining will be placing the bolts. But placing the bolts, we'll have first of all to weld all these components to become an assembly. So let's meet on the next presentation on how I'll show you how we can create the bolts and create the weld and populate it along this beam. And that's it. Let's meet on the next presentation. Bye bye. Thank you.